Hi and welcome back to MDriven Turnkey. We left off where I had this theme that I wanted to harvest stuff from and add it to my MDriven application. So where we left off last time was approximately here. I've done a few more things. We have the CSSs and everything from here. We now also have the validations of fields that you can set from modular. So if this needs to be Hans, and if it isn't, it will, well, this one must be Hans and this shouldn't be Hans because they're negating rules. So it will highlight an information about what's wrong, and that is easily done in the model. You just point on the root. You have the constraints, the validations, rule 1 and rule 2. Attribute 3 should be different than Hans. If it isn't, we should write this is wrong. And rule 2 is the negation of that. We can make it something else. 1, 2, 3. Once we have that, we want to associate these to some of our placed widgets. Zoom in this one. So this one is 32. This one, right click it. I can choose validation rules and check this is the rule 1 and the other one is rule 2. Let's put rule 2 on number 4 as well, so the rules can be on many view model columns like that. And once you've done that, we upload the model. That was the wrong button. That was the button I was going for. And we need to refresh it because there's no reason for it to reload. And this one is now wrong. Okay, that was it would be hard to fulfill this one. This one is now okay. This one is now wrong. 1, 2, 3. Like that. So isn't this wrong? Okay, maybe I told you wrong. The validations can only be on 1 at a time. Rule 1, this is wrong. Rule 1, attribute 3, different than Hans. It must be different than Hans. Okay. So when I write Hans, it says this is wrong. Okay. Like that. And looking at the theme, the first thing that strikes you is the diagram. And analyzing where this comes from, it's actually a plugin. They call it Flot, F-L-O-T, like plot, but Flot, it's, I guess, Danish for nice. So we want one of these in our MDriven Turnkey application. And we want this graphs to be drawn from our data. So that was my mission for the day. And how would you go about it? Well, it's not that hard, it turns out. A bit of repetition. This file is saved in this catalog, and now I have chosen to save it as eco MDL file format, not the modular file format, which was the other option. The modular file format is a zip file, but I want it expanded, the expanded format, like that. So let's open that folder up. And when it's expanded, I can see that spans files are actually my view model files and things like this. This format is just plain XML. So if we were to open this with some other application like Notepad, we would see something like this. So this format is great if you use Subversion or Git or something like that to work as a team. So, but if you remember from the last session, I said that if you have something that has the same name as your eco-MDL file or eco-modeler file, if you have a folder ending with _assets tk for turnkey, we will, whenever you upload to the server, we will grab everything here and do stuff with it on the server. So what I did was to have my TK user CSS here, so that I could get everything on the server, and also the CSS from the theme is here. So whenever I do this upload, what really happens is all the things in that folder is uploaded to the server and expanded in certain ways. In certain ways, I say. What do I mean? Well, since this is a moving target, we are working constantly on improving things. I'm going to show you where we document stuff here. There's a new site on the internet, wiki, MDriven.net. So I've just started to pour in information about MDriven development, on how you do things here. But in here, we actually can find how things are connected. So if I were to search on assets tk, or rather _assets tk, I'll find it here on the theme and style. And here we see that what the special folders are that we treat in certain ways and what we do with them. But we also can have other names of folders. You may have any folder depth with any content with special assets and plugins. They will be replicated on the server side, like that. So check this site out, and whenever you're in trouble, ask us questions and we will answer them by updating the wiki. So where were I? Yeah, let's see. In this folder, I've added on content, assets, plugins, Flot. And this is the JavaScript library used to draw the diagram. So I just grabbed that one, and the license is fairly okay. There's nothing much to it. You can use it as long as you don't remove the as long as you don't remove the license. And we won't do that. So this sits here, content, assets, plugins, Flot. Right, and what we want to do is to add a view override so that we can merge in our things in the view. And I've done this in the view here. Let's see why I misplaced these things. What I did was to add a view model column diagram points that goes to something, follow the links class 1, which is a many link to a view model class that has x-axis and y-axis. And this looks like this in the model class 1. So these are just integers, and these will be my plot points. But what I want to do is not just have a list of plot points. I want to have a diagram. So for this one, I've checked the content override, and I've also added tag value that says Angular UI override, and you can find the information about this in the wiki. Here on what you can do with the UI override and what you have to do for special things in the different platforms. So for Angular JS, we have to add the Angular UI override tag value in view model column, and then we have to add a file containing. So what I had to do is to say that diagram Flot CS HTML. So this is the file that will implement my diagram, the HTML markup. And where do I put that? Yes, I put it in the assets TK under views, external override pages, diagram Flot CS HTML. And this one I have implemented to say hello Flot plugin H1, and I've said a few other things, but let's start at this. So when this ends up in the browser, it will have my markup, and here it points out Angular controller called short Flot controller. Okay, so I need one of those. And I've put that one in X scripts. So in my MDriven Turnkey Flot GS file, I have done a short Flot controller that I add to my Angular module called MDriven Angular app. So that's where we are tying into MDriven. And I'll do a few things here, mostly just copy paste it from the example. But how do we get this into the application? Well, again, to the wiki, you can see that this file is important. In MDriven Turnkey for AngularJS, you can add a file AppWideAngularScriptIncludes HTML in ActScript. If you do, things will be expanded into the application. So that will be a way to hook in to stuff. So if I open this with Notepad like this, I see that I have added all the scripts needed for the Flot plugin, and also my Angular controller to handle the work. So having done this, I just, and this is a one-time job actually, you can do this any day you need a diagram after this, you can just reuse the same diagram, the same things. So uploading everything to the server. Remember, it packs all the things in the assets TK folder and expands it on the server where your application resides. So it looks like this, and down here where my plugin comes, hello Flot plugin, and here's the diagram. So pretty cool. And what we want to do is to control the data that is drawn in here, of course. As we add class 1s with x-axis and y-axis, we want it to show up as changes in the diagram. Let's see how it would if I open another one and trying to put this one here like this. What I did to be able to add data was to add another copy of the same association, class 1. And this one points to this nesting, has the two attributes, and also I added an add and delete button. This is the create and the delete button, and this is the grid. Yeah, and then there's another thing you can do in Angular. When you point at this one and you get the tag values and attributes, you can set that it should be editable. Normally grids in Angular aren't editable because they aren't. But if you set it on this like this as a tag value, they will be. Also, this is written about in the wiki. Edit in grid. So you see, it's pretty good. Like that. So having done that, when I scroll down, I see that the grid pops up like this. This is the create and delete button. And if I were to press create, maybe I can press delete, and rows will disappear like this. But I don't want that, so I press console, and my rows are back. And check out the diagram, because what happens here is that whenever I change data here, look at the diagram. Yeah, now I'm glad I have as many windows as I want. Like that, maybe. Yeah, maybe like this. Like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the diagram updates. Now it's gonna shoot up like that. So that's pretty cool. And how did I go about that then? Well, it's actually in the controller. What the controller does is that it says scope on processing server messages complete. It calls plot from model, and it takes the view model root diagram points. So diagram points is actually what I call this one. So it takes this list. Remember that you can always find out how the data looks on the client by just going /debug, right? So there's a diagram points, and it looks like this, and you see it has the x-axis and the y-axis. Cool. So what does it do? Where did it go? Here. So whenever the processing server message is complete, we call this method plot from model with the list of diagram points. And this is the function plot from model, and we get the list. And we have an empty array that we iterate over all the values that we find, and we create the unnamed object here with y x-axis and y e-axis. So, and this is just the demo data that I copied from the sample. And what it does is plot, and here it sends in my array data from model, and it also sends in the static test arrays. So this is the static test array, but this is the data from our model. So this is the how you would go about to do actually any plugin control to make it behave well with MDriven. And if you think this is a lot of work, I can only say, well, it is sort of, but you only have to do it once. And whenever in the future you want diagram points, just name it diagram points in the view model, and just name it x-axis and y-axis in the view model columns. You don't have to have this model. It doesn't have to look like this. You just have to name it in a consistent way so that your code behind that you have done in the controller and in your markup finds it. So that's really a super brilliant way to create controls that are reusable. Okay, you don't believe me? I'm going to do some more to show you, but not now. What the take-home message is that you can do anything. I promise you. And when I say anything, I really mean anything. So, no worries. Keep on coding. Thank you.